He's standing inside a cave in Madhya Pradesh 12,000 years ago. A torch hisses. The forest outside, absolute darkness. He paints what matters. Not animals this time. Not the hunt, people. A circle, hands linked. He wonders like all artists. How do you make a moment last? The painter has stood inside that circle, has felt the rhythm pass through bone. Even now, as pigments fade and rock fractures, the structure is obvious. This is not primitive noise. This is organized rhythm, beating in firelit circles long before history found words. You're listening to India's Golden Age podcast. Please subscribe.
In this episode, we cover India's 12,000 years of music.
We talk about ancient caves, Harappan whistles, Natya, Shastra and Sanskrit theory.
And also about Devadasis and courtesans who saved classical India music when British Empire tried to erase it. I'm Gauhar, Jaan.
By 3000 BCE, the Harappans are building cities. And inside these cities, someone is building sound. At Mohenjo-daro, archaeologists found a terracotta bird whistle. Fill it with water, blow into it, and it produces distinct separate tones. Not one tone, multiple, deliberate. Picture a Harappan potter, firelight on his face, pressing holes into wet clay with his thumbs. Each hole placed at a specific distance from the next, the way his grandfather taught him. 5,000 years ago, someone in the Indus Valley was probably experimenting with structured sound, even before any surviving language to describe it had been written. The first time music became text, it was in the Veda. Around 1000 before Common Era, it is called the Veda of melody. The hymns of the Rig Veda were set to tune, sung across 3 to 7 notes during sacred ritual. Then around 200 before Common Era, a man named Bharata Muni sat down and did something extraordinary. He wrote the Natya Shastra. Not a song collection, a complete theory. He divided the octave into 22 Shrutis, subtle pitch divisions. From these 22, he chose 7 swaras. He described exactly how string length changes pitch. He named it, formalized it, documented it. It is 500 before Common Era. The story goes that he traveled east. There's no historical evidence that he came to India, but let us, for the sake of imagination, place a curious traveler in a bustling ancient university town, Taxila. The harbor clerk looked up.
Name? Pythagoras, from Greece. You have crossed half the world to be here?
He had Egypt's temples, Babylon's courtyards, and now Taxila, one of the greatest universities the ancient world ever produced, 5 centuries before Christ. Let us imagine a young music student, Gargi. She could have been 19 when Pythagoras began attending the Acharya's lectures on the Saptaswara. She saw him before he saw her. Good-looking foreign scholars were not rare in Taxila. While others shifted and whispered, he sat completely still, his eyes fixed on the veena at the front of the hall. He stayed in Taxila for years. Gargi found herself speaking with him after lectures. They studied, debated, disagreed. Their friendship became the subject of quiet speculation. Sometime later, Gargi is tightening the peg of her veena. He's talking again, that circling, restless style he mistakes for conversation. She finds it exhausting. She also finds it flattering. He leans close to the veena and says,
If the string length is half, the pitch doubles. A familiar principle to music theorists here.
Yes, a string is a line. Shorten the line, the sound rises. It follows measure.
He adds after a pause.
And the 7 notes are drawn from 22 smaller divisions?
Correct, 22 Shrutis. Enough for today. Let us eat.
He had given up meat like her, and one evening he said, almost shyly, that he believed the soul returned after death. Gargi looked at him carefully.
You have given up meat. You worship the goddess of music. So you have discovered reincarnation?
Discovered? No. I only listen.
One day Gargi handed him a monochord, a single string stretched tight over a plank of wood. She instructed,
Divide it. Show me what you have understood.
He marked the midpoint, plucked. The octave rang out, precise and whole. He marked 1/3, plucked again. The 5th resonated, warm and expansive. Finally, one day he boarded the ship. Gargi stood on the riverbank, sunlight in her eyes. There was a brief ache. That is all she allowed herself, or so she thought. Imagine a music school during the Gupta era. A student pauses mid-rhythm, fingers still on the mridangam, mind already elsewhere. Teacher, he says,
If I take one short syllable beat and one long syllable 2 beats, how many patterns can I really make?
his teacher says.
Then count. Do not guess, count.
He does. 1 beat, 1 pattern, 2 beats, 2, 3 beats, 3, 4 beats, 5, 5 beats, 8, then 13. He looks up.
Each number is coming from the 2 before it. Is this music or mathematics?
The teacher smiles and says,
I will play the answer on the mridangam. You already know it. You just counted it.
This sequence was documented by the Indian scholar Pingala around 200 before Common Era, expanded by Hemchandra in 1150 Common Era. When Fibonacci published it in Europe in 1202, it is likely that it reached him through Arabic transmission of Indian mathematical texts. While the Italian monk Guido of Arezzo is credited with inventing do re mi around 1000 Common Era, it is plausible that the 7 swaras, documented millennia or more earlier, provided the foundational blueprint for Western musical notation. In India, until the Sharanga Deva's 13th century work, Sangeet Ratnakara, there was one unified musical tradition across India. The split into Carnatic and Hindustani came later, but both share the same fundamental structure, the same mathematical ratios, the same understanding of Shruti and swaras. And then came the Brit. Indian musicians working with 22 Shrutis were told that their instruments were out of tune. Brits told them that sophistication meant 12 equal notes arranged neatly across a keyboard, that anything outside the grid was error. The 22 Shrutis that Bharata Muni had mapped 2000 years earlier were dismissed as mistake. Indian musicians began looking to London for validation. Ancient ragas, complex mathematical structures that took lifetimes to master, started receding. As empire tightened its grip, Indian classical tradition survives not in institutions but in the hands of women. Devadasis in the south carried Bharatnatyam and Carnatic music through temple ritual and courtly performance, gardening forms colonial reformers tried to extinguish. In the north, Tawaifs or courtesans became the beating heart of Hindustani classical music, Thumri, Dadra and Kathak. With courts dissolving under British rule, their kotas evolved into vibrant academies where artistry was honed and debated. Yet, Victorian reformers recast both Devadasis and Tawaifs as prostitutes, pushing them out of public respectability and nearly erasing their cultural legacy. In 1902, Gauhar Jaan, a courtesan, walked into Calcutta recording studio and faced British engineers and their new machine. She sang, but more importantly, she announced into the recording horn.
My name is Gauhar Jaan.
She did not leave her legacy to chance. She told history, her name herself. Let us return to our traveler, Pythagoras. Later writers have suggested links between Greek and Indian thought. When he came back from his travels, he gave up meat, taught reincarnation, and built his entire philosophical school around the division of string lengths into exact ratios to produce consonant intervals. Pythagoras treated music as a sacred science, exactly as Takshila did. And frankly, this inverse relationship between string length and pitch is not Indian knowledge or Greek knowledge. That is physics. It was there before any of us began claiming it. Listen to imagined bird whistles of Harappa. Study the Shrutis of Natya Shastra and hear Begum Akhtar and Lata Mangeshkar. The continuum is visible if we are willing to see it. I am Sarvajit. This has been India's Golden Age podcast. If you want ancient India's story, read my Gupta trilogy, which begins with Dhruva Devi, out very soon. Subscribe, share, and let someone else hear this. Jai Hind.